back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Liz, business coach for women of color. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to help your clients get results. Now, this is an important one because what I often find when I'm working with my clients is they're afraid of being consistent in their business, because if they're consistent, then that means that someone will actually work with them. Someone will actually reach out to try and ask them about their services, and then they might actually get the client, and then that scares the heck out of them because they're terrified about what happens next. People don't often go over this part. Oftentimes we hear so much information about the marketing and about the sales, but we don't hear too much about client experience. That's also why most client experiences in programs are awful. So in today's video, I want to take some time to go over that, because once you feel more confident with that, then you will feel much more confident marketing your business and becoming more visible. So let's get started. First, you're going to want to make sure that you understand what your process actually is. You're going to want to create your first draft of that process. And if you're interested in a more detailed breakdown about how to actually get into the minutia of that and really figure out the details of how long you want your program to be and the different milestones you want to set for your clients, I do have a live that I did previously that I will link in the description box so that you can go back to there if you want to get a more detailed deep dive on that aspect. But for this video, we're going to keep things more general overview. So create your first draft of your process. And the reason why I emphasize first draft is because it will never actually be a finished product. It will never actually be a finished product or process, because your clients are not you. The method that worked for you because you're you. You want to leave room for the fact that because you're going to be working with different people, they're going to have little tweaks and pivots in the ways that they follow your process that will actually work for them. You want to allow for that space because people need that space in order to see results. That's the problem with most of the programs out here, is that they're far too cookie cutter. And there is no room for you to be flexible and to figure out how things can work for you. There's too much emphasis on the final process being the end all be all that's just untouchable. No, your process will always be just a first rough draft for your clients. It's the finished product for you, but it is not for them. So, for example, through my process with my clients, we go through making 100 offers. Making your first 100 offers, usually that's the most consistent any of them have ever been with being visible and talking about the services that they offer in their business. For me, when I first started out, I did my first 100 offers through Instagram IG captions, and that's where I did it. But for my clients, it differs depending on the client. Some of them would prefer to do it through Reels. Some of them prefer to do it in other ways. So it doesn't really matter where you do it or how you do it. There's flexibility there so that my clients can actually make it their own. And so I encourage you to do the same. Allow for the flexibility for them to be able to make it their own. When you hold on too tightly to what you think it quote unquote should look like, then that's where your clients stumble and aren't able to get the results that they're hoping for, because they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Next, once you've created that process, that first draft, let your clients work the process as much as they can. And your job is to be able to point out when you're noticing that maybe they're not following the process as you had originally outlined. Now, again, this is not a problem. This is actually important because this is the beginnings of how they will actually make the process their own. But they don't know that yet. But you, as the coach, consultant, the guide, whatever you call yourself, you know that, but they don't. And so you have to help them to see that and to understand that if they're having issues with the process, if there are areas where things are getting tricky for them or they're not quite able to follow through on the things that they had said that they would originally, it's your job to become aware of that, to notice that, bring it to their attention so that you can collaboratively work together to figure out a solution that works for the client and their goals for where they're at that stage in their journey. So typically this can look like things where there are mindset blocks, issues where you might need to talk about things like limiting beliefs or fears that are coming up. Or maybe it could just be knowledge gaps. Maybe they're making assumptions about what something needs to look like or how something needs to be done, and they don't know that it can actually be done in a different way. But you have to open up that dialogue in order to figure out what the issue is. And that means you have to just let them follow the process to see what happens. But it is helpful for them to at least have some type of baseline process to work from so that you both can look at that and see, okay, here's where something might be missing. You need something that will trigger that conversation. Without it, you're just kind of floating in the wind. So once you have your process, your client's working through that process, and then you start to notice that there might be some hiccups along the way, some areas where they're not pressing forward in a way that they would like, in a way that would make sense for the timeline of the program, for instance, you want to make sure that you're co-creating a solution. So that means that the client is really helping to create the solution. You can't just tell them what to do, because that's when we get into the world of like preaching or just doing really unhelpful things that are trying to push a client forward when they're not ready to, when they haven't found a solution that really works for them. And that's the key thing, because in order for your clients to have long-lasting change and experience the results that they came for the program, they have to be a part of creating the solution, because you're not in their head. So you can't just tell them what to do. You can't just give them advice. You can't just tell them to just make a decision or to just do it. It doesn't work that way, because there's something that is in their head, in their heart, whatever, that is causing them to be hesitant. So you want to make sure that they are helping to create that solution so that it's a win-win between their logical brain as well as their nervous system, and that will help them to move forward. So that means that they might have to move forward maybe at like a 2 or 1 degree pivot from what was originally put in the plan, but that's fine, because they don't have to go at your pace. They don't have to go at any particular pace at all. They can go at the pace that is right for them at this stage in their journey. Forward movement is ideal. It just doesn't have to look like everybody else's forward movement, or even the forward movement that you experience. So make sure you're co-creating that solution together. Another thing I'd recommend is making sure that you include opportunities for progress check-ins. Time for you and your client to discuss how the process has been so far, what their thoughts are on the work that they've done in the program, and what they feel their progress looks like. For some programs, there are some people who feel like this isn't necessary because they feel like they're just so in tune with what's going on with their clients that it's not necessary. I disagree with that, because it doesn't matter how in tune you think you are with your clients, you're still not in their head. You still can't assume that you know exactly how they're feeling. So it's always a good idea to include progress check-ins to see how they actually feel about their progress in the program, and to see how they feel about their experience. Because a thing that's often overlooked when you're helping clients, especially if you're a coach, is that you can be coaching someone on a particular issue that they're having, and that's one layer of coaching and helping them to develop. But there's another layer on top of that as well, or maybe underneath it. There's another layer in there about helping to coach them on their thoughts about their progress, because how they feel about the journey and what they think about their journey is just as important, if not more important, than how they feel about how they performed with the task at hand. So always check in. It never hurts to check in. I also recommend doing a post-program evaluation as well. Just another opportunity for clients to be able to share their experience with you and what they thought about the program, and where they can provide areas where you can improve on the program to help other people. This is something separate from a testimonial. Testimonials are more outward facing. They're really marketing tools. You also really want to get some targeted information that can help you improve on your program and continue to get that feedback. So make sure that you're implementing progress check-ins. And in connection with asking your clients for feedback on their experience in the program once the program's over, also do your own evaluation. How did you think the program went? How was the experience for you? What are areas that you would like to actually improve upon? And it's helpful to actually think about this in terms of objective data, because it can very easily get into the area of, well, I'm just a shitty coach, or I'm just a shitty service provider and I just suck and I just need to endlessly be better. And that's not helpful. What you want are actual objective data points that you want to look at and then ask yourself, if you want to change them. And if you want to change them, what things can you do to influence those things? You can pull this information from things like those surveys that you ask your clients about their experience from. Or you can do it just from your own observations as well. And remember, you really want to make sure you're pulling out the objective data versus just shitting on yourself for being a beginner at something. For instance, when I was first starting out in my coaching journey, I noticed that a lot of my clients struggled with fear. They struggled with fear of all sorts of fear. Fear about failure, fear about success, fear about anything really. And for me, what I had experienced myself in most coaching programs were coaches and mentors who would just sort of preach at you about your fear. That's what I experienced. They would just tell you, you can do it. Keep going. Fear is normal. We all have fear. Which is true and accurate, and it did the job for me in some cases, not in all, but in some cases it got the job done for me. But I noticed that it wasn't getting the job done for my clients. They would still be held back by their fear. And I asked myself, well, what if there is a way to actually help them manage this fear and move forward that's different from just kind of cheering them on? And when I started to open myself up to that possibility, not necessarily making myself a bad person or a bad coach for not already having this tool or tactic in place, I just got curious and thought, well, what if there is something that can really help them through this other than me just sort of, cheering them on or letting them know that fear is normal? And that's when I found additional coach trainings that really focused on this, that really focused on really getting to the root of issues, helping clients to find their North Stars and help them to move forward. But it was very client-centered, not coach-centered. It wasn't from a place of, well, I have overcome this fear, so you can do it too. No. It's from a place of, well, let's see where you're at right now and what does the next baby step look like for you once you've been reminded of what your North Star actually is. Because remember, fear is extremely powerful, but hope is much more powerful. And when you're able to see possibility through hope, you can take that next baby step. And then you just keep taking those baby steps until you look back and realize, holy shit, I think I actually overcame that. That's what it looks like. It's small pivots, baby steps that are client-centered. But I would not have realized that, or I would not have even thought to explore that if I didn't allow myself to look at the data that I could see from my clients and ask myself from a place of neutrality, from a place of, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. This doesn't mean that I'm a terrible coach. It just means that from what I've experienced and from what I've learned so far, there's still something missing, and I'm curious to see if there's something else out there that can help. And that's how it works. Yes, it can be hard to simultaneously trust that you can create this brand new program that you are a beginner at and help someone while also not simultaneously causing harm. And of course, it's going to be something that you care about because you care about the work that you do. Like, you're in this from more than just making money. Otherwise, there'd be plenty of other things that you could be doing. You care deeply about the work that you do, and you care deeply about the people that you serve. But just remember that if you can get to a place where you can simultaneously hold that care that you have and also recognize that this program that you're trying to birth into existence is literally just someone's first draft. It's a recipe that you are crafting, but will develop over time with patience and evaluation and practice and error. Once you get to that place, then the impact you can create will be absolutely unheard of. Imagine where we'd be if people were able to actually go forth and create the programs that they could see help the world, but just weren't so paralyzed by fear of causing harm. So, if you need help believing in your program, trusting in your ability to create something that can truly impact your people and be worthy of the payment that you deserve, then make sure you book an interest call for one-on-one coaching. I can help you. Use the link in the description box below. Make sure you book that interest call. We'll chat and make sure it's a good fit. June 1st, 2023, I am also hosting a workshop about how to help your clients achieve life-changing results. In that workshop, we're going to dive deep into the process, the art, and the science of coaching in a way that helps your clients to be able to create lasting results. And that comes with results that are created that are client-centered, not just you preaching at your clients telling them what to do. So if you would like to get some additional help and support with getting a little bit more advanced in your coaching skill to create that lasting impact that truly helps to build a sustainable, thriving business, then also use the link in the description box below and make sure that you register for that as well. So make sure that you're also following me on all the things, all the socials. I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm at most days of the week. You can join my email list. You can also use the links below to find me on there as well. And make sure that you check out my video with a more detailed explanation about how to really craft your program, including length, milestones, all that good stuff if you're really starting from scratch. I'll see you there.